speaking to my camera. Hi guys, it's V, and in this video I'm gonna show y'all how I made this beautiful 6x6 closure wig. Literally everything from start to finish. How I bleached the knots, how I plucked the closure, how I made the whole entire wig, and how I styled it and everything. So if you want to see how I get this, keep on watching. Okay, so this is the closure that I will be bleaching. It's 6x6. It's a really good quality closure, and I'm just showing y'all the back and the front of the closure. So these are the products that I'll be using. I'm using the BW2 bleach and the 40 developer. Sometimes I do use 30 developer, but today I'm using 40. If you use 40, I don't leave it on for that long because, you know, it bleaches faster. If you use 30, it bleaches, it takes a little longer. And sometimes I do use blue bleach, but the white, it's easier for me to see the knots bleaching. So yeah, and I'm just trying to get the perfect consistency. I don't like it too thick, but not too runny either, so it don't like run through the closure. But if it's too thick, it will literally not bleach. I've had that problem before where I've had I found a piece of hair, lol. But I've had the problem where like it was too thick. Like I had way more bleach than I had developer, and it didn't like bleach at all. So just get like a really perfect consistency, honestly. And yeah, I'm just mixing it up until I get my desired consistency. Alright, so y'all can see I'm starting to get the consistency that I would like. I don't really know how to describe it, but it looks like yogurt. You know, if you know how the yogurt looks, that's the type of consistency that I went for. And yeah, I'm gonna show y'all how it looks. So it's just like that. So now I'm going to start to bleach the closure, but before I start, I'm spraying the front of the closure with water and brush that back just so the bleach don't touch that and those hairs don't get in my way. So this is how it's supposed to look after you brush all those hairs back with the water. And I will be using a plastic knife, not metal. Don't ever mix metal with bleach, but I will be using a plastic knife to evenly and nicely spread out the bleach on the closure. I got this idea from Erica J. I love her in her videos, but I find this way easier to put the bleach on the closure rather than using the regular brush that you use to color hair, because that's what I used to use, and this method is way easier and it doesn't run through the closure. So I'm gently patting the bleach on the closure. I do not spread it. I just take the bleach with the knife and then I just pat it down, and I do spread it. I don't really know how to explain it, but I just do it really gentle. I kind of do spread it a little bit, but like I don't press down on the closure. So this is how it looks after, I'll say 30 to 35 minutes of bleaching. It all depends on the hair. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes less than 30 minutes. It all depends on the closure, the frontal. You just got to keep watching it until it turns blonde. And now I'm using the Isoplus or Isoplus neutralizing shampoo, and then I'll be using the shimmer lights to get the brassiness out of the closure. And this is how it looks. This is before I use the shimmer lights. Don't worry if you still have some knots that are like visible, because we're gonna use makeup later on. But even if it's like a light brown color, it's not like all the way blonde yet, it's okay. You could just wash it off. You don't have to like leave it on until all the knots are bleached. But yeah, so now I'm just putting the shimmer lights on, and I'll be leaving that, I'll say, I don't remember, I'll say like 10, 15 or 20 minutes, I don't remember, but I left it sitting for a little bit until I washed it off. And I'm just, you know, letting it sit there until all that brassiness comes out, and I'm rinsing it off. And this is how it looks after the brassiness comes out. Like, I don't know if y'all could tell the difference, but it looks way better. And then we're starting to pluck. Okay, so I already did half of the closure. I just did a part in the middle. I didn't think that part was really important to show y'all how I part, so I just skipped that part. But I already parted one side, and I'm just gonna show y'all how I did the other side of the closure. Don't mind my canvas head sitting on the floor right now. But yeah, so before I pluck, y'all see that I spray the hair with water. It's way easier to pluck when the hair is wet, and I just, as I'm plucking, I constantly spray the hair with water. And the way I pluck is really random. I got this technique from Erica J. Before, I used to do row by row, like part each row and just pluck, but now I just go with, like, behind the hairline, and wherever it's thick I just thin that out, and I just pluck until it thins out. But yeah, that's how I pluck, and that there's nothing like that's literally all I do. I don't know how else to explain it. I just keep plucking wherever I see is too thick, and I just keep doing that over and over until it matches the other side of the hairline. So y'all can see how I pull out the hair. I go in a backwards motion, like I pull the hair back with the tweezers, and I use any tweezer, like $1 from the beauty supply store, so it doesn't matter. And I make sure to pull it all the way from the knot up, so you know, it completely comes off. And as I'm plucking, I make sure not to go too close to my part in the middle. So wherever you part your hair, the closure, do not pluck near the part, because it will make your part look bigger and it's not gonna be cute. And this is how it turned out after I was done plucking. Now I'm going to begin sewing down the closure on a dome mesh cap that I got from Amazon. Y'all can see I put the closure an inch above the cap to give you that frontal like look. When I pinned down the closure on the cap, it did not lay flat like how I wanted it to be. Usually when I do wigs with 4x4 closures or even frontals, like the back lays flat down on the cap, but this was different. But as I start to sew it down, it eventually flattened out. The technique that I use for sewing, I just put the thread through the needle, tie a knot, and I just go around the whole closure until I reach the end, and I cut it and I just tie a knot. I don't do anything special. That's all I do. So now that I'm done sewing on the closure to the cap, I cut the extra thread off, and then I tie like 3-4 knots, and then I cut off the extra thread on that, and then that is it. That's how I sew on my closures to my caps. So now I'm going to start adding the tracks to the cap. I use a white eye pencil so it can be a guide as I add the tracks on the cap, and I'm using the 30-second bonding glue. I do not sew on my tracks on my wigs anymore. It just takes too long, and this works for me. And I'm using 3 bundles of 226 or 24 of Brazilian straight. So I just added the first row, and after I press down on it, I spray it with spritz just so it can be secure. And then I do not cut the tracks, I just flip it over. I add glue to the other side, and then I just keep that going until I get to the top, and then I start cutting once I reach the top, just so it doesn't have any bumpy tracks up there. Now that I have reached the top, I start to cut off the tracks because I don't want a lumpy look on my wig. So now I'm going to begin straightening the hair. I still have glue on my finger from gluing the tracks down, so just disregard that. But I'm using Rusk Thermal Serum, and it's a heat protectant and also makes the hair silky. I don't use a lot, just a little bit, and I just put that throughout the hair and I straighten it with my straightener, and that's Conair titanium straightener. Okay, so this is how it looks after I'm done straightening it, and now I'm going to cut the extra cap off that is underneath the closure. And now I'm going to start straightening the closure itself. I'm using the same exact method that I use for the tracks, and what I do is I section off the closure and straighten each section until I get to the top where I have the middle part, and I do that on both sides of the closure. So now that I am done straightening the closure, y'all see the difference it makes just straightening the hair and how flat it looks. But now I'm going to go with my hot comb, and I'm gonna use my wax stick as well. The wax stick that I would be using is KeraCare, and I put that on the top of the closure, and then I go back with the hot comb, and I just keep doing that until it's super flat to my liking. Throughout the video, I did go back and plucked a little bit more, as y'all could see. Okay, so another technique that I got from Erica J is I cut off those tabs on both sides of the closures so it can lay flat on my head. Okay, so before this, I did start to cut off some baby hairs, but as I was making them, I decided I didn't want baby hairs with this wig. So the hairs that I did cut in the front, I just pushed it back with foam, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm just pushing back the front of the hairline with foam, and that is it. Okay, and now I am sewing on an elastic band, and when I sew on my elastic bands, I sew it on to the sides of the closures to the band. And I did that on one side already. I'm just showing y'all how I did it on the other side. So what I do, I stick the needle through the closure, through the band, and then back through the band to the closure, and I just keep doing that pattern until I reach to the end, and I cut off the thread, make a knot, like 2, 3, 4 knots, and then I cut off that extra thread that's hanging off, and then that's all I do. Okay, now I'm putting makeup on the back of the lace so that it can match my skin tone more. And I'm using the black Opal foundation stick in the color Mocha, I think. Yeah, Mocha. And that's the same color I used for my nude cap. Okay, so here I start to put the foam so that the hair will like get out of my way, which was not a good idea because the hair was like still wet after this. And yeah, like I made a mistake doing that. I don't know why I did that, but after that I just cut off the lace, and y'all gonna see like how I cut off the lace. I cut it in a really like zigzag motion, like not straight, because then it won't look as realistic. So that same color foundation Mocha, I'm putting that on top of the lace just so it could blend even more with my skin. Okay, now to sharpen my part, I'm gonna use this color that I'm showing y'all to part my part, if that makes sense, like just so I can define my part even more and it could just pop out and you could see it. So both sides of the closure was flopping up, so what I did was I sprayed Got To Be Glue freeze spray. You don't have to do this because it's not noticeable unless you touch it or like you flop it up yourself, but I wanted it to be extra secure, so that's what I did. And then I combed the hair back because I didn't want the hair to, you know, get hard and get stuck on my forehead or the closure. So right after I sprayed, I I combed the hair back. So I am finally done with this wig. I really love how it turned out. It is gorgeous. It's cute. I love that it's a 6x6 closure because the parting is really deep. I love a deep parting. I love it. Overall, I love it. It's real cute. This is how the it looks. This is how the closure looks, y'all. Isn't it cute? I didn't add baby hairs. I did not add baby hairs because I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I started to make them and I was just, I don't know, like I just didn't feel it. I can always go back and add some later on, but for now I'm just gonna leave it like this because like I don't really care for the baby hairs on this wig. But yeah, it's real cute. Thank y'all for watching.